Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for October 19, 2022, the Holcim Paid Terrorist Edition. We begin with that story from Patricia Hurtado reporting in Bloomberg. The Holcim unit Lafarge was fined $778 million over payments to the Islamic State. It pled guilty today in U.S. District Court and agreed to pay the fine. The case marks the first time a multinational corporation has been charged by the U.S. with aiding terrorists. And the French cement maker's conduct was a new low in corporate crime, as announced by Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco. Holcim's sustainability officer entered the plea on behalf of Lafarge and said at a press conference the company had made a deal with the devil in Syria and that it would, among other things, look to block shipment from Turkish competitors, and essentially became a business partner with ISIS. Lafarge has been under investigation for quite some time, and this is about as bad a conduct as you can have. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal CIO Journal, not the Risk and Compliance Journal, reports that Chief Information Officers, CIOs, say cybersecurity will once again be their top investment priority for 2023, a sign of how companies are racing to manage the business risk posed by escalating threats. Companies are facing an escalation in cyber attacks, such as the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack, hospital operator attacks. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center said it received over 800,000 complaints in 2021. Next up, from the Financial Times, reports that the Austrian corruption probe linked to the former chancellor, Sebastian Kurz, has sprawled even further into dozens of more politicians as key lieutenant to Kurz has turned state's evidence. Austrian prosecutors said Thomas Schmidt, who helped to propel the chancellor's rise to power, was questioned extensively over the affair. So the corrupt Austrian who modeled himself on Trump, well, guess what? He modeled himself on corruption as well. And finally, from the New York Times, Meta said on Thursday that it would sell Giphy, the online repository for video clips, in a major defeat for the social media giant in its long-running dispute with British antitrust regulators. Meta, a company formerly known as Facebook, had taken a big chance by concluding the sale without regulatory approval, and now they have to sell Giphy because of their obvious missteps and their decision not to even fight the claim by British regulators. So, goodbye, Giphy, from Meta. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.